Good morning, everybody, and a very, very warm welcome to you here in Nanjing, Dajia Hao, and I'm very delighted to see everybody. My name is Dugan Fraser. I'm the Program Manager of the Global Evaluation Initiative, and I would like you to start by giving yourselves a very warm round of applause. Many people here have traveled very, very far, and we're so delighted to see you. But we're also so delighted to see such a strong Chinese contingent. I'm looking very, very forward to learning a lot from everybody here. I want to especially thank our co-hosts, Sidka, who have been exceptional. We are deeply indebted to them for their amazing efforts. And obviously, the UNDP's Independent Evaluation Office, who are our beloved partners. We're filled with gratitude. The GEI is very honored to be part of the National Evaluation Capacities Conference 2024 in Beijing. I'm going to be doing pretty boring stuff. I'm going to be introducing the logistics. Can I invite anybody who has not taken a seat to please fill these seats in the front? We want to make sure that the row is filled and we have a good representation here. I'm going to be talking about some logistics and housekeeping pretty briefly. As you understand it, there are three streams in the conference. The first is going to be World Cafe sessions in the ballroom, dealing with the government stream. There will be roundtable sessions in dealing with inclusion, and they will be on the other ground floor meeting room. And then there will be the future sessions, which are happening on the first floor upstairs. All venues will have the titles of the sessions on their door, and you'll be able to follow them through that. Generally, I will be a source of information every day, but please also make sure you use the Hoover app, which is pretty great. But don't forget that formally, for signing up for events, you need to use the NEC website. And if I can please make sure that you RSVP for tonight's reception on the NEC website as well. We need your RSVP for numbers and catering arrangements. As you know, there's simultaneous translation happening in Chinese, French, Spanish, and English in the plenaries for roundtable discussions and the panel presentations. And simultaneous translation will be provided for the World Cafe panel discussions, but not for the small breakout groups. What that means is that you'll be given little devices for the breakout groups that you'll be able to use on a personal basis. We also encourage you to use phone apps, in particular the Microsoft Translator app. Lunch will start today slightly later than scheduled. It'll start at 1 and it'll run until 2. Medical services are available if you're feeling ill, if you have a sudden attack of jet lag, nausea. Please reach out to one of the volunteers who are around. They'll be delighted to help you. You can tell the volunteers they're the people who have name tags that are this way rather than this way, and they're all young and fantastic and really keen to help. The opening reception tonight starts at 6. The shuttle will leave from in front of the hotel, and it's not far. If you miss the bus, you can actually just walk. It's all good. Please check the map in your paper guide, which was in your bag. Communication on changes to schedules, reminders for social events, and other information will be on the Hoover app. And additionally, every day I will update you on anything interesting that you need to know about. There are a number of competitions happening on the app. You can upload great photos, great icebreakers, and people who put the best content on the app will be winning prizes. So that should get you to make use of the app as much as you possibly can. I want to remind you that we want to be using this conference as an opportunity to generate the Beijing Action Plan. The Beijing Action Plan will be building on what was agreed on at the last NEC conference in Turin. We had the Turin agenda, which we've been using to guide our work over the past 2 years. And we're going to be formulating an action plan, which has got action steps that we will be using to guide the work of the global National Evaluation Capacities community over the coming period. Please feed into the discussions on the Beijing Action Plan through the Hoover app. There's a pinned post that participants can add to, and each stream has dedicated rapporteurs who will compile feedback and summarize key themes, questions, and considerations on a daily basis. That's enough of the boring housekeeping stuff. We're going to show you a fabulous video, and then I'm going to introduce the moderator for the next panel, who will then take it over from there. If we could play the video, please. Thank you.
In 2015, world governments came together to discuss how to address the greatest challenges of our times and set forth a bold vision for the future, the Sustainable Development Goals. But our journey towards achieving the SDGs has been disrupted by the shockwaves of COVID-19, escalating conflicts, and the accelerating climate crisis. With the stakes higher than ever, we have no choice but to act, and to act now. National evaluation systems are essential compasses on our journey. By delivering rigorous evidence on what works and what doesn't, national evaluation systems empower governments and partners to make informed decisions. But gaps in these systems remain a major challenge in many countries. Since 2009, the Independent Evaluation Office of UNDP has brought together stakeholders, evaluators, and policymakers to discuss how to strengthen evidence-based decision-making for better governance. Joining efforts with the Global Evaluation Initiative for the past 2 National Evaluation Capacities Conferences, UNDP has connected representatives of more than 150 countries to share experiences, innovations, and lessons to strengthen national evaluation systems. The last NEC conference in Turin saw over 300 participants making a collective commitment to building inclusive and transparent evaluation systems, systems that respond to national and local contexts and provide timely and credible evidence to policymakers. The Turin Agenda emphasizes that evaluations must give voice to people from all walks of life, particularly women, youth, and those who are often excluded and marginalized. In Turin, we agreed to amplify our efforts to develop innovative, forward-looking national evaluation systems that integrate environmental and climate considerations. Since then, countries have been inspired to act. They've mobilized high-level stakeholders, drafted integrated policies, set up coordination mechanisms, and strengthened evaluation capacities. This year in China, the NEC conference offers us a remarkable opportunity, a chance to reaffirm our commitment to responsive evaluations. Evaluations that serve governments, champion inclusion, and shape a sustainable future. The time to act is now. Let's begin.
I'm very delighted to introduce the moderator of our next panel. Anne-Claire Luzot first joined the WFP Office of Evaluation in 2006, and since 2023, she's served as the Director of Evaluation. During her very stellar career with WFP, she spearheaded the use of evaluation evidence across the organization's programs and operations. She led the launch of the decentralized evaluation function and the corresponding first evaluation capacity development initiatives at WFP. She was also instrumental in developing the 2016 and 2022 evaluation policies, and she served as a regional evaluation advisor in UNICEF and as the Chief Evaluation Officer at the World Health Organization. Before joining the UN, Anne-Claire was an evaluator active in both the humanitarian and the development sectors. She was Vice Chair of the United Nations Evaluation Group between 2019 and 2023. Anne-Claire is a Belgian national and holds master's degree in rural development from Sussex University in the UK and a master's in economics and social science from Namur University in Belgium. A very warm welcome to you, Anne-Claire, and over to you.
Esteemed colleagues, I am very happy to moderate this session, which will see very distinguished panelists reflect on progress made since the Turin Agenda, which had re-emphasized, among others, the leadership of national governments to ensure ownership of evaluation systems. First, I would like to introduce very briefly the panelists. I have the pleasure to have with me Mr. Edward Mulbah, who is the current Deputy Minister for Research and Development Planning at the Ministry of Internal Affairs of the Republic of Liberia. His responsibilities include facilitating research and development activities that inform the development of appropriate interventions that help transform lives of citizens, especially at the subnational level. I have also the pleasure to have with me Mr. Cristina Manuel Matusse, who is Deputy National Director of Planning and Budgeting at the Ministry of Economy and Finance in Mozambique since 2015. Her focus is on the technical coordination of Mozambique's national planning and budgeting process, assuring the integration of cross-cutting issues such as the SDGs, gender, climate change, and she is overseeing the country fiscal decentralization process. We also have with us on the panel Dr. Gamil Helmy, who is the Assistant Minister for Monitoring Affairs at the Egypt's Ministry of Planning, Economic Development and International Cooperation. Dr. Gamil is currently the head of the Programs and Performance-Based Planning Unit and the General Supervisor of the Decent Life Initiative. Dr. Gamil has graduated from Chicago Booth Executive Program in 2024 and earned his PhD in Economics from Cairo University in 2014. Following Dr. Helmy, I have Joselyn Corrales, who is an Ecuadorian economist working with the National Planning Secretariat of the Ecuadorian National Government since 2017, and currently holds the position of Undersecretary for Evaluation. She has facilitated numerous participatory processes for feedback on public policies and contributed to the National Development Plan of Ecuador. She has led evaluations in various areas and facilitated workshops on the use of INSEE results. And last but not least, we have Mr. Lin with us, who is currently a standing committee member and vice president of the Nanjing Audit University. He is also a candidate for the second phase of the Jiangsu Province 333 Talent Project and a young academic leaders at the Jiangsu University Blue and Green Project. His main research interests include innovation, entrepreneurship, and internal audit. As you know, the achievement of development outcomes stems from a complex process that requires the active contribution of governments, private sector, civil society, the multilateral system, and other actors. Yet, national governments have the primary responsibility to lead and coordinate the process for these transformations to occur. This requires them to put in place the systemic, institutional, functional, financial, and individual capabilities needed to enable these transformations. One important aspect of these capabilities relates to designing, planning for, resourcing, and effectively implementing adequate policies and programs that maximize progress on development outcomes for all, and in particular for the most vulnerable in our societies. To do this, governments need, among other things, credible evidence of what works and what doesn't work in order to inform decision-making in each of these stages. This necessity is acknowledged in the 2030 Agenda for SDGs, which calls for member states to engage in systematic reviews of the implementation of the agenda using methods that are rigorous and based on evidence. Obviously, evaluation evidence is part of a larger landscape of evidence which can inform, complement, and enrich these systematic reviews, explaining the progress of the SDGs and generating lessons on what needs to change or be fast-tracked. But for evidence to be useful, evaluations must be responsive to the evidence needs of the countries. This requires a strong and articulated national evaluation system with the institutional, financial, and individual capabilities to respond to the national evidence priorities. The UN resolution adopted in 2023 encouraged all member states to use evidence from evaluations of the SDGs for decision-making and called for the UN agencies to provide support at the request of member states on their efforts to undertake evaluation and facilitate exchanges of experiences. This session will actually look at how responsive national systems can be and what they can achieve, and also we will discuss areas to be strengthened. I will now turn to my fellow panelists and ask them a few questions. For the first question, I will invite Mr. Mulbah, Mr. Lee, and Mr. Helmy to actually reflect on the following. From your experience as high-ranking government officials, what evidence needs do evaluation respond to? In other words, why do you think a national evaluation system is important to your country? And to be more efficient, I invite that you stay in your seats. I will now join you there. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, let me say a big thank you to the people of China, the government people of China, and that of our organizing committee for this very, very important platform. Before I get to your question, I'd like to say that Liberia, for some of you who may not know the background of Liberia, I'd like to say that Liberia is about 177 years now. It's a unitary state with 3 branches of government, yet equally distinct in nature and functionaries. We think that, coming to the specific question, we think that evaluation, the national evaluation system is very important. It's important for several reasons. First of all, it's important because it helps us as government to be able to measure our failures, our successes, as well as drawing lessons to inform the future, particularly lessons and failures related to projects and programs and initiatives. That makes evaluation important. It's also important to help us as government to be able to assess the level at which our programs, our policies, public policies are efficient, are effective, are making the different changes within the context of what we set to achieve as a government. And also, of course, to make impact on the government in the context of service delivery and as such. We also think that national evaluation is important because it ensures that government policies and programs are aligned with the principle of transparency, accountability, equity, and strategic oversight, and thereby leaving no one behind. We also believe with the complexity of government, within the context of social, economic, environmental challenges, evaluation system is important to enable us to learn for learning and accountability through evidence-based policy making. That makes evaluation quite also important. It's also important because we think put evaluation in the governance framework. In the governance framework within the context of the judiciary, the executive, and the judiciary and executive, and it helps us to foster accountability, learning, and good governance. And we also think that evaluation is important because continuously it will help us to improve in our different governing processes, in our different development reforms that will help to better policies, to better lives, to deliver high-quality, user-centered services, managing public funds efficiently, and building, of course, citizen trust in public institutions. That makes evaluation quite important. And we also believe evaluation is quite important because it steers administration towards assessing the strategic objectives, ensuring that policy programs and services are not just well conceived, but yet they are delivered. They deliver development outcomes. These are some of the reasons why I believe that evaluation is quite important. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. I am now moving to Mr. Helmy. If you'd like to share with us why evaluation systems are important in your country. Thank you.
Thanks, dear Anne, for your question. Firstly, I'd like to shed the light in brief on the efforts that are being done by the Egyptian government in reforming and improving the systems of planning, monitoring, and evaluation, because we believe that it is an integrated and comprehensive logical framework that should be reformed as a whole. So starting from launching our Sustainable Development Strategy in Egypt in 2016, we were very clear in concentrating on the reform of monitoring and evaluation system in Egypt and adopting the logical frame that concentrated on reforming, monitoring, and evaluation that is linked to the budget. So we are applying programs and performance-based budgeting as well. And in this regard, I want to say that evaluation is very important when we are speaking about the efficient way of resources, of allocation resources. Because in Egypt, for example, especially in Ministry of Planning, we are responsible for managing public investment. And annually, we receive hundreds of proposals of new investment projects. So we are very keen to evaluate those proposed projects according to the economic, social, environmental sustainability dimensions. So we are requesting comprehensive feasibility studies from all line ministries, and we study it well, to what extent each project contribute to multiple SDGs, multiple goals of our national sustainable development strategy, multiple priorities of Egypt, to what extent it contributes to economic growth, to providing decent jobs, to take into consideration sustainability or environmental sustainability dimension, because we have a target in Egypt to make our investment green. We have a target to increase green public investment from 15 to 50. So we evaluate the projects from the perspectives of environmental sustainability. So at the same time, we are very keen to allocate our public spending, taking into consideration the equality dimension. So based on some KPIs like poverty rates and so on, we are very keen to allocate our resources to take into consideration social dimension. So we have in Egypt a mega project, Decent Life Initiative. Its main target is to improve the quality of life of about 60% of our people that are living in rural areas. So we plan this project according to the results of poverty rates. So evaluation is very important in us in designing and the planning itself. At the same time, when we are distributing our spending at the governorate level, we have also a funding formula in order to allocate our money or our spending according to some criteria, the number of beneficiaries, poverty rates, competitiveness across governorates, human development index according to governorates as well. So by this way, we believe that evaluation plays a very important role in reforming our plans, and at the same time, lessons learned from the implementation of our mega projects or national projects or national initiatives is very important, because, for example, as I have mentioned in Decent Life Initiative, we are about to finalize the first phase, so we are now doing surveys or field visits and surveys on a scientific way in order to know to what extent this mega project has contributed to improve the quality of life on citizens, in order to collect lessons learned in order to plan the next phase. So lessons learned is very important when speaking about evaluation. At another side, we believe that evaluation is very important in Egypt and to our government when we are speaking about the institutional reform, because when we evaluate to what extent line ministries achieved their goals, this will provide a competition across all line ministries, across all public employees, in order to improve their performance. And by the way, this will at the end will be resulted in improve the level of services that will be delivered to citizens as well. So I will share with you what we have recently introduced in Egypt in order to spread the culture of monitoring and evaluation in coordination with the UNDP office in Egypt. We have launched a specialized manual on monitoring and evaluation. Its main target is to guide all public employees in all the government institutions how to do monitoring and evaluation in a very scientific way. And at the same time, we have about to launch a specialized program of training in coordination with UNDP in Egypt and Institute of National Planning, and this will enhance our capabilities in monitoring and evaluation. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Helmy. I will now turn to Mr. Lee. If you would like to share with us also why you find evaluations important.
Thank you for the conference arrangement. Last conference, our director of TUI introduced some our practice of CNAO. I will share some belong point. Firstly, after more than 40 years of exploration, China established a centralized, unified, comprehensive, and efficient audit supervision system. Since 2018, audit economic supervision has been carried under the centralized and unified supervision of the Central Audit Commission. At least two responses are needed. One is focused on national strategic planning and key areas for audit supervision. We are also conducting audit supervision around the development concept of putting the people at the center. The important audit projects in China are economic policy tracking audit, poverty reduction, and rural revitalization audit. which are important internal government factors, so to promote China's long-term sustainable and high-quality development. Secondly, based on the positioning of economic supervision, focus on the main responsibility and the business of financial revenue and the expenditure to carry out audit. Compared with other supervision methods, focusing on fiscal and financial revenues and expenditures, such as project budgets, financial accounts, and other revenues and expenditures, captures the key elements that affect sustainable economic development. Without the investment of funds and capital, a stable growth cannot be achieved. Thirdly, an effective tool system has been summarized, which named research-oriented auditing. Research projects, planning, and implementation are carried out along the line of strategic planning, then policy, then project, then funding, to improve the accuracy and the effectiveness of auditing. But analyze and extract suggestions along the line of funds, project, policies, and the strategic planning, improve the position of audit results, and strive to provide basis and reference for national micro decision-making and deployment. The fourth is economic responsibility audit, which is the responsibility of officials with public power and is a unique auditing system in China. How to make officials ask customers to work in and living under supervision. So this is important. Strengthening accountability and transparency in the audit systems. This is my idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all your contribution. It's very interesting to see how important evaluations can be for accountability purposes to reach the development outcomes. I found very interesting the perspective of using evaluation to actually prioritize investments, but also to ensure environmental sustainability. And finally, your insights on how audits can contribute also to accountability and transparency. Now, that is all why evaluation can be important, and I'm sure that there are many other reasons why evaluation is important that you could all contribute to. But now I would like to turn to the second question, which is, you have, and many of you have attended previous conferences where we have been discussing how to strengthen national evaluation capacity systems. But we also have to acknowledge that sometimes we don't go as far as we would like to go. And I would like to ask you, what do you think is missing to actually create effective and responsive systems that address the national needs? And I would like to turn now first to Mrs. Matusse, to be followed by Mr. Mulbah, and finally we will listen again to Mr. Lee. Thank you.
Thank you. First, allow me to thank you the opportunity that we have as a country, Mozambique, to be part in this panel. Going straight to the answer, we see that for all evaluation process, the political commitment is a key issue. Political commitment to do the evaluation and then to accept the result of the evaluation. So as the government institutions, we need, we know all of us that the politicians, not all times, they like to show their weakness, but their weakness are important to improve. So political commitment is a key, but it's not only the institutional framework. It's important to, we need to have evaluation units, planning and monitoring evaluation institutions that are strong enough with skills, with technical capabilities to support, to do the evaluation and then to support the government in terms of the evidence to do the results. This is the institutional framework, but we need, and then we're still having a challenge in technical capacity. So we need to have technicians which they have skills. We need to have clear methodologies, instruments that are guiding all sectors, all politicians in doing the evaluation, but how to use that result, the evidence, to influence the policy decisions. So these are not only, we need to have financial resource to support all evaluation process. We can have institutions with the capacity, but we'll need the resource to do the evaluation, the assessments. And then the assessments, they are expensive because for evidence, we need the impact assessments to be inclusive. Following or looking for our country where we have extension or area around 8,100 square kilometers. We have a coastal extension around 2,000 kilometers with around 30 million of population, 11 provinces, including the city, Maputo city, and 161 districts. So to get, to do the assessment which are representative, are inclusive, we need a resource. Our National Institute of Statistics, they are allowed in doing the census, the household surveys, for evidence base for the policy formulations. But we can see that those census, those assessments, they are not regular. So to do regular census, households, you will need resource available, will need capacity. So this is some of the constraints that among that are constraining the evaluation systems. So this information system, it's one other issue. We can do the assessments, but we need the information system, strong information system. We need the strong information data systems to inform the policies. So those are the constraints that they are limiting all evaluations, and then they are limiting all use or availability of evidence base for the policy decision and the policy formulations.
Thank you very much. Now over to you, Mr. Mulbah, for the same question.
Thank you very much. Look, I am a politician, and I'll tell you there are lots of mixing elements in the context of we developing countries where we want to have an effective government, an effective governance system, but yet a number of issues, a number of positive elements are missing. For example, the elements, most countries, especially developing countries, they have limited capacities and limited political will to actually create an effective, responsive system that addresses the needs of the citizens. So first, the political will is limited, the capacities are limited, capacities within the context of prioritizing responsive government actions that are based on empirical evidence to address the needs of the citizens and promote economic growth. Those elements are missing. We also have capacity gaps within the area of having strong innovation and capacity for gender-responsive budgeting. Most countries, right now, we are talking about creating opportunities for both men and women. But you realize that government make allocations, but in the design of the budget is not gender responsive. And I think those are some of the things that are missing. And I also think that we play games oftentimes with the issue of having evaluation system. Take, for example, my country, Liberia, 177 years old. Now we're talking about decentralization. And we need to have a very strong data system, a data system that has resource capacities. But that is lacking. It makes it difficult to assess the utility of resources that are invested in public performance management. We think to be able to address some of these challenges as government, we need to invest more in national evaluation system by building a culture of responsive and responsible government that will prioritize the needs of the citizens. We also, as a government, as a people, need to be more government resilient in the face of the potential crisis that we are now gearing towards. So, able to do that, we need to take full advantage of technology. And technology is a key factor if we are to have responsive and evidence-based kind of strong government. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Lee, if you could share with us your thoughts.
So I'm the vice president of Nanjing Audit University. So from this point, I think it is important to how to cultivate professional talents. So Nanjing Audit University is the only audit university in the world that specializes in training, audit, supervision, internal control, risk identification, compliance management, and is committed to cultivating audit supervision talents. We are also a jointly established university by the National Audit Office of China, the Ministry of Education, and the Ministry of Finance, and the Jiangsu province. More than 30 auditors from different countries are our honorary professors of our universities. And the former CEO of International Institute of Internal Auditors and the former Director General of the World Intellectual Property Organizations are the overseeing deans of our university. We have established integrated talent training system for undergraduate, master's to doctoral levels. 20 teachers have participated in 2 rounds of UN audit, and several teachers are currently undergoing training in Beijing this week. So the audit work of the United Nations has been appreciated by the UN Secretary General. So over the past 8 years, we have trained over more than 300 master degrees in auditing from 76 developing countries, receiving high praise from different regional countries. Several teachers and students are interning in the UNDP, and other organizations. We are willing to cooperate with the UN and its international organizations to cultivate talents in areas such as economic evaluation, internal audit, internal control, risk assessment, performance audit, engineering audit, computer audit, etc., especially for developing countries. So I wish we can contribute to this NEC conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We can see that there are quite a few challenges, and some are common in different contexts, and I'm sure you can also relate to those in terms of the technical capacities, the data gaps. I think all evaluators are struggling anywhere in the world about the challenges to get the right data to actually conduct scientific evaluations. I also very much appreciate what you were saying, Mr. Lee, in terms of strengthening professional capacities. It is true in audit, and it is also true in evaluation, so we have common grounds there. Now, I would like to move rapidly. I am told we have to stop at 1 o'clock, so we have 15 minutes left and 2 more questions. So I would like to ask you to be concise. And maybe I could ask Mrs. Corrales and Mr. Helmy to share with us briefly a concrete example of how you have seen evaluation contributing to improve lives in your country. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor for me to be here today and represent my country, Ecuador. Respecto a la pregunta, te puedo comentar que Ecuador aceptó el reto de política pública, la Agenda 2030, en el 2019, desde un decreto presidencial. En este sentido, Ecuador ha presentado ya 3 exámenes voluntarios, y en este tercer examen nacional voluntario se puede evidenciar la primera evaluación con enfoque ODS liderada desde gobierno. ¿Qué nos ha permitido pues esta evaluación de la Agenda 2030? Incluir 2 principios de la Agenda 2030 como criterios de evaluación: no dejar a nadie atrás y responsabilidad compartida. ¿Sobre qué? Sobre la gobernanza de la política pública de desnutrición crónica infantil en nuestro país. En este sentido, para ser sumamente breve, esta evaluación permitirá evidenciar si la gobernanza y la política pública está llegando a los beneficiarios realmente que son, y también para que los tomadores de decisión puedan tomar decisiones basadas en evidencia para mejorar la calidad de vida de los beneficiarios. En este sentido, al incluir principios de la Agenda 2030 como criterios de evaluación, también nos permite ver si estamos contribuyendo al cumplimiento de la Agenda 2030, que ha sido tomada como política pública en nuestro país, específicamente al ODS 2 y a 8 ODS más de manera indirecta. Gracias.
Thank you very much for sharing this. Over to you, Mr. Helmy, briefly.
Okay. Regarding this very important question, in brief, in Egypt, we are very keen to evaluate to what extent we have achieved our targets in SDGs. So we depend mainly on multiple sources. One of them is SDGs index that released by Cambridge University, and according to the latest one, Egypt has succeeded to achieve 70% of our targets. This is our points in SDGs index. And regarding the national sources. We are depending on the estimates that are published by Central Agency for Public Mobilization in Egypt. And this is a very important institution that is very also interested in publishing reports specialized in achievement of SDGs in Egypt. The third is the voluntary national reviews that the Egyptian government introduced to the UN 3 times. And based on the results of all these resources, we, based on that, and built on that, we see that we have to focus mainly on specific areas, like, for example, primary education. For example, health and the quality of health. For example, on industrial sector. So this was reflected in the new government that we have in Egypt now, Deputy Prime Minister for Human Development and Deputy Prime Minister for Industrial Sector. Because of what? Because of evaluation guided us to focus mainly on these areas. This number one. Number two, we have launched our Sustainable Development Strategy in 2016. So we revisited the strategy and we have updated it to take into consideration new aspects that should be considered mainly. For example, climate change. We have launched Climate Change Strategy 2050. We have also concentrating only on increasing the female participation rate. For example, issues like control of population. For example, the financial inclusion issues. So based on evaluation, we have concentrated on these specific issues. Also, again, when I'm speaking about Decent Life Initiative, when we are planning in the preparation phase for the second phase, we found that some sectors affect the living conditions of people positively and more than other sectors like water and sanitation. So we'll start mainly implementing the projects of water and sanitation, and we get these results from the citizens itself. So I am raising also the issue of the evaluation that are coming from, or evaluation that is coming from the people themselves, the beneficiaries themselves, and we are doing that by field visits, and this is very important to us. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. I would like now to turn to the last question, because we have heard that indeed we can do evaluations and that it is important, but we have also heard from a couple of the panelists that sometimes people don't really want to know or act upon some of the results of the evaluation. So my last question is to Mrs. Corrales and Mrs. Matusse, and it is, can you give us one specific example where you have seen evaluation used by government, and what was the element that favored the use of the evaluation evidence? Thank you.
Thank you. In our specific case, now we have just did our presidential elections. So next year we'll be elaborating our new 5-year government. So we did our SDG implementation report. we had our household survey results in 2022. The SDG implementation report we just ended this year. So all that information they will be gathering for the new 5-year government program that it will be 2025 to 2029. And we are at the same time elaborating our 20-year national development strategy that it will go to the parliament next year. And we'll be presenting our second national review, voluntary review, next year. So after the 5 years, so this is the second one. So this is one of the evidence-based results that we are planning, and then we are strengthening our M&E systems within the sectors, starting by strengthening, reforming our planning and budgeting system. Now we are more focusing on programming result-based planning and budgeting in order to strengthen the performance assessment on public finance management process. So those are some examples that I can give related to what's happening in our country now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Corrales.
Muchas gracias. Ecuador en el último año ha sufrido cambios anticipados de gobierno, por lo que garantizar el uso de evaluaciones realmente se ha vuelto un desafío, porque cada gobierno que se cambia o que viene, pues viene con nuevas ideas y nuevas prioridades. ¿Qué es lo que nosotros hemos realizado como Ecuador para garantizar el uso de los resultados? Primero es sensibilizar a las autoridades que vienen, tomadores de decisión, sobre la importancia de las evaluaciones y sobre la importancia de tomar decisiones basadas en evidencia. En un segundo punto, también lo que se ha realizado desde la Secretaría Nacional de Planificación, que es el ente rector del subsistema de seguimiento y evaluación, es emitir una norma técnica de evaluación donde se garantice el uso de las evaluaciones para las diferentes carteras de gobierno. Esto con el fin de que tengan obligatoriedad en el uso de los resultados de la evaluación, así como las recomendaciones. Tercer punto también, y es crucial, es el seguimiento a los planes de acción que se realizan. Esto con el fin de que conozcan las instituciones que hay un ente rector, un ente regulador que hace seguimiento de las acciones que se plantearon concretamente para mejorar el servicio o política pública que se esté realizando. Y finalmente también en Ecuador se estuvo realizando la primera evaluación participativa, donde durante la fase de programación, desde el diseño de la evaluación, se incluyó como parte del equipo evaluador a tomadores de decisiones, y eso asegura usar más las evaluaciones. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Corrales. I have to say we have a hard stop now, so I cannot offer you the possibility to ask questions directly to the panelists just now, but you have seen them all, so please feel free to engage directly and continue the conversations over lunch and the following coffee breaks. With this, I would like to thank you very much for your reflections and for your thinkings, which I hope will be inspiring to others in the room. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Anne-Claire, and thank you to the panelists. Another round of applause, please. Thank you. You're invited to make your way to lunch. We'd like you back in the small groups at exactly 2 o'clock, so we can make best use of this time together and enjoy your lunch. Thank you very much, everybody.